Tim Bennett here from the Cortland Voice, and I'm here with Dr. Ahmad from Cayuga Health. Doctor, how are you this morning?
I'm doing very well. How about yourself?
I'm very blessed. Dr. Ahmad, introduce yourself to the Cortland community. We'd love to hear about you and what services you provide and about yourself.
Well, thank you for having me. My name is Dr. Mufti Ahmad. I am a board certified hematologist and a medical oncologist. I work with Cayuga Hematology Oncology and provide services around all kinds of cancers in adult population, and also disorders related to blood, either anemias or blood clots, or blood count disorders. Um, I grew up in Pakistan
Okay.
and did my initial training at University at Buffalo in Buffalo, New York. And then I did my fellowship training in hematology oncology at the Levine Cancer Institute in Charlotte, North Carolina. And I have over 3 years of experience in hematology oncology. And I recently moved to Ithaca, New York. And I'm just very excited to be part of the community in Ithaca and Cortland and Finger Lakes area in general. And I have a daughter. She's 8 years old, and she's very silly. And she is very excited to be in the area. She's a lot of friends already,
Good.
and she's very active and very happy to be here.
Beautiful. Well, I mean, the Cortland, Ithaca area is perfect for kids. We have great education system, great places to hike, great food. It's right in the center of New York, so it's you came right to the right spot. So with what we're speaking on today, which I believe is iron deficiency anemia, excuse me. Explain what that is to the community.
So, you know, this topic is I think is very important because the iron deficiency, from some of the estimates, affects about 2 billion people in the world, out of like 7 to 8 billion total population. So you can imagine like every fourth or fifth person has some form of iron deficiency. It is one of the essential minerals that our body needs for production of red cells and muscles and the brain to function and for our development. So naturally, the needs are going to be more in adolescents, females who are just having their menstruation, starting, they're losing a lot of blood, or adult females or young females who are having childbearing or breastfeeding. Or it could be also more prevalent in elderly population, or people with certain barriers to absorption of iron, such as somebody has a gastric bypass surgery or inflammatory bowel disease, or chronic inflammations can, cause iron deficiency to kidney problems and some cancers as well.
I see. So from the sounds of it, for a lot of times when the people get the gastro surgery, that might be dealing with people dealing with obesity, and then you see it a lot in women as well.
Yeah, so it's more prevalent in young females.
Mm,
And especially girls start having their periods around middle school time, and then they can become deficient. And what worries me is that they can get behind in their performance, whether it's academic or athletic or whatever they're wanting to compete. So that's where the huge bulk of that problem resides in young females. But certainly there's a wide range of other population. As you mentioned, obesity,
mhm.
which creates a state of inflammation in the body and makes the iron dysfunctional, so it's hard to absorb and process it. So those things do factor in as well.
I see. Is there, and this is just a random thought, is there anything like nutrition wise that people can eat or something? I remember like growing up, I was a TV like kind of sort of like all I did was watch TV, you know. I used to always see the cereal commercials talking about tons of iron and tons of this. Is there a certain maybe type of cereal or food that people can eat? Or I know you also have nutritionists that you work with. You have a great team at Cayuga Health.
Mhm.
Um, like what could people do
Yeah,
to
so in the United States, because people have generally there's not a deficiency
Mhm.
of food, and flour is fortified with iron in the United States, so it's hard to sometimes become deficient in iron unless you're a very strict vegetarian,
Mm.
and for over a long period of time, you can become deficient, or if your need is more than what you're eating, which could again go back to blood loss or periods of growth or malabsorption. Um, so um, one thing I want to mention is, a lot of the times it's not that we have deficiency of iron in our diet. It's based a lot of the time the problem is the body doesn't process the iron or absorb the iron very well. I see many patients taking iron supplements for 10 years or something, and they're still very deficient in iron. So that is one example of how, um, and some people will come and ask me, oh, if I make my food in an iron skillet, would that help? It does not help, because that iron, is for the skillet, not for you to eat, or that doesn't get into your food.
Yeah, I get it. So let me ask you this. How much iron does someone need each day, and when would they become deficient? Like,
Yeah.
how do
So
you?
that's a good question. So generally our need is 1 milligram, which is a very small quantity per day. It can go up to 2 or maybe 3 milligrams in a very high need if somebody's breastfeeding, or is it advanced in their pregnancy. But usually it's 1 milligram a day. Or if somebody is an athlete and is really training very hard, because the muscles, they need iron too. So there could be more consumption, of
Mhm.
iron in that. So usually the need is 1 milligram a day for a general population.
Okay. And then um is anemia different from like iron deficiency? Like what's the difference?
I think that's an excellent question, because we often, see people like having severe iron deficiency and not
Mhm.
having anemia. These are a lot of the time they are, related, but there is not 100% correlation. um, the iron deficiency, iron is one part of production of red cells that defines anemia, but iron is also needed in other areas of the body, such as muscles or brain, to function. So once somebody starts to become deficient, their iron stores become depleted over time. And they may still be compensated enough where it's not reflected in their anemia. So these are two separate, things.
Okay. So a lot of times I like to play off my memories and things in life. I remember when I was younger, I always took vitamins, and I remember my some of my elder relatives saying I need to take our iron tablets or our iron blah blah blah, you know. Is there like a certain maybe way of living or a certain medicine that could have been taken to cause the iron excuse me, that could have caused the iron deficiency, or is it hereditary? Because like certain things are hereditary, like is it passed down through generations, or like explain that.
So the hereditary is very, very rare.
Okay.
That's not the first thing that will come to one's mind. The iron is generally not part of multivitamins that are mostly available over the counter, just because our body doesn't have a way of excreting excessive iron.
Mhm.
So that's why they don't really add it to the multivitamins, because sometimes people may be taking it for years, and then they can have overload of iron if they are absorbing it. So I recommend my patients to have their iron studies checked, which could be easily checked with the blood test. And if they have deficiency of iron reflected in their blood work, then take the iron supplements. Otherwise, don't take them.
Now, what happens if, the anemia goes undetected? Like, you're just living your life and
Yeah,
you never
so
notice.
one of the common, problems with iron deficiency and anemia could be that people develop like a brain fog.
Hmm.
It's fatigue that doesn't go away. They're very tired. They can sit on a couch and fall asleep, and then they're sleeping for hours and not feeling rested. They feel like they can't do anything, and sometimes it reverses their pattern of sleep, where they're taking naps in the daytime and they're up at nighttime. So severe fatigue, exercise intolerance, like some people can't do much. They can't walk or run because their body is so deficient in iron. Restless legs are very common, where people are so kind of edgy, they can't fall asleep. And then, problems with, mood disorders. People can almost become depressed because, they're emotionally drained, or they're frustrated. They're not able to do anything because of iron deficiency. And then, of course, I have seen some patients where then they tend to lean towards like relying on other means to cope, like smoking or using vaping or other things, which kind of perpetuates the problem further. So it's important. So these are some of the major side effects. Now, if the anemia becomes very severe and goes on for months and years, it can affect the organs such as the heart. The heart failure. I've seen patients with heart failure, which is a very severe form of iron deficiency.
Okay. Now, what's going to make John Doe or Jane Doe or whoever feel or recognize that, hey, I need to get in and see a doctor? Like, when should they, like, because I mean, a lot of people in today's culture, we get so tired and things like that. We do fall asleep on the couch and then wake up at, I don't know, fall asleep at 9, wake up at 1 a.m., go to bed, wake up. Like, that's so much. We do like 2-part sleeping. It's very rare that you meet the person who's sleeping in the bed right away.
Yeah, so I think it's important. In what I have noticed in my practice,
Mm.
it's not there's not a lot of literature written on it. This problem yet is undiagnosed sleep apnea,
Hmm.
where people's oxygen goes down at nighttime, and then they're waking up multiple times at night, and they have to go and pee, for example, and then because they don't sleep well at night, they are easy to fall asleep in daytime.
Hmm.
So obesity, so all of these conditions create a state of inflammation, a chronic inflammation in the body that doesn't let the iron be absorbed. And
Mhm.
if it is not absorbed, then it's kind of like a perfect storm. And then it kind of feeds into emotional problems and restless legs and insomnia. So, it's not the reason I want to say that it's not as simple as anemia.
Okay.
It affects all portions of our body. So the CDC guidelines
Mhm.
recommend for high risk individuals to be checked once every 5 years. But if somebody has like, you know, um, inflammatory bowel disease or blood loss of any kind, or obstructive sleep apnea or obesity or gastric bypass surgery, they should get checked more frequently. Or if somebody is just not able to focus on their like schoolwork or tasks or something, it's important to get checked for iron deficiency.
Okay. And then what treatment options are available? So like what are We come in, we say, hey, we want to see Dr. Ahmad. We come in, you come in, smiling, shake our hand, you look us over, you tell us what you tell us. But if treatment is needed for any person who comes to see you, what are the options?
Yeah. So there are two major treatment options. One is to take iron supplements, orally.
Okay.
Um, um, what I have noticed with iron supplements is either, because we are not malnourished in the United States, we not like, for example, somebody in Africa may not have anything to eat.
Mm-hmm.
So, and our diet is fortified already. So a lot of the time, what I notice, the problem is not with that we don't have enough to eat. It's iron, but it's that our body's not absorbing iron. So
Uh,
in that case, we give a trial of oral iron for 2 to 4 weeks and recheck the iron studies. And if the iron studies don't improve, then we do intravenous or IV iron, which is very safe and very effective. So these are the two major forms of treatment: the oral and IV.
okay. And if someone wants to improve their well-being and iron intake, that's just watching this and obviously they haven't seen you, and what would you say directly to them at this moment?
I would say that having some red meat products in your food, is important. The research has shown that the iron that is contained in red meat, I'm not talking about chicken or turkey or fish. So red meat is pork, beef, lamb. Eating some of that maybe once a week is enough to kind of give you a good boost. And But if you're still deficient, then we have to generally rely on intravenous iron. Do get checked for iron levels.
Okay, so like me personally, I'm a steak guy. I love a good filet mignon. So if I'm eating a filet mignon, if I'm
Yeah.
eating one filet mignon a week, I'm getting my iron. Is that what you're
Yeah,
telling
and
me?
if somebody can't afford it, you can eat like a hamburger or something. I mean, it's weird that coming out of a doctor's mouth that you can eat a hamburger. But it's basically, the idea is to eat some red meat. So if you can't afford a steak, it's okay. Just eat or get some beef burger patties or something. Um,
Okay. Now here's my final thing, Doctor. I'll let you give a closing thought or message to the community. Go right ahead.
yeah. So, being a hematologist, an oncologist, I feel like iron deficiency with or without anemia is very under recognized. We should we should have more awareness to it. And if that is the reason why somebody is not feeling well, this is one of the few problems in medicine that we can completely fix. So it's very treatable. We just need to make sure we are screening it, checking for it, thinking about it, and then addressing it, because it can make a huge difference in the quality of life and productivity of our community.
Okay. Well, Doctor, once again, thank you for meeting with us. And to everyone watching, thank you for choosing the Cortland Voice. God bless. Thank you.
Thank you for having me. Yep.